Okay. Hello, good evening to everyone in Germany, while it's morning here in Seattle, and hello to everyone else around the nation. Thank you very much for having me here to present updates in the Access ecosystem to you all today. I do hope everyone is staying safe, and sorry that times are not yet right for me to present to you all in person, but hopefully that time will come soon. So quick introduction, my name is Ebo Quansah. I am the Access product lead as well as the Office Platform Program Manager. I've been on the team for about a year and a half now, leading Access as well as other Office initiatives. And I'm here to talk to you all about Access updates. So with that, I will continue to start my sessions by saying thank you again. And it is wonderful that I'm able to talk to you from so far away. I see the comments and I see the feedback that active customers like you bring to the table, and breathe off of the opportunity areas and success of our customers in order to drive ourselves forward. And it might seem interesting to think that Access, which is now an almost 29-year-old product, is so important to Microsoft, but it really is. And in addition to that, I have been able to complete almost a year and a half, like I said, of managing a product that is also very important to me. So we really appreciate all of you for helping us make this product and for making it clear that your success is directly proportionate to ours as an Access team. And so with that, please keep telling us what we at Microsoft can do to drive it to the next level. I mean, I'll be saving extra time towards the end of this session of Carlisle's to hear more of your thoughts and to hear some questions from you as well. Okay, so on the agenda for today, because we strictly abide by the One Microsoft theme and are very unified in the way that we work, I think it's important to remind you of what our mission means at Microsoft today. And that has been constantly evolving over the years, and so I'm happy to share our latest updates. From there, I'll jump immediately into Access, discussing its relevance to the Microsoft mission, as well as our priorities as a team. And then I will cover what is new in the product, as we definitely have some exciting news to share. And then I'll finally reveal some pretty important news in our Access roadmap, including how we want to better support product maintenance, as we have heard your feedback and we want to do more to improve on this, before then diving into our more increased focus to better integrate Access with Microsoft's Power Platform. And then, as always, I will close out with community engagement and then leave some time for questions. So our mission, again, to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more, is essentially the North Star in everything we do, with every product choice that we make and how we show up and speak with our users like you. And when we talk about empowering people, we simply mean that with the right tools and access, with the right accessibility, any of you can achieve your biggest goals worldwide, no matter where you are. That's what's important to us. And so a culture founded in growth mindset is what's important to the team as well as to our customers, if not most important. Obsessing over what matters to you, becoming more diverse and inclusive in everything that we do when we create, operating as one singular company, and making a difference to the lives across the world are all points that we are consistently reminded of at Microsoft today. And this especially applies to Access. And so what's the vision? What are our priorities and where are we going? The first and foremost priority is focused on customer satisfaction, as I've briefly alluded to, and I'm sure you've heard at this point. And that includes making sure that the product is stable and reliable, which I will spend quite a bit of time talking about later on, as well as continuing to develop new features where applicable. This also includes us responding to the feedback that you send, whether that is on user voice, on different distribution lists, or through the words of your Access community leaders. All of that is what's important for us to understand how satisfied our customers truly are and in what areas we can do a better job. Priority focuses on cloud connectivity, or especially during the retirement of web applications. We know that getting your Access data and then applications into the cloud, as well as the phone and other devices, are some of the most important missions of the Microsoft team today. We do We understand that not having this option does cause a ton of frustration and concern with the longstanding use of the product. So we are dedicating a lot of discussions and time to better integrate Access with other Microsoft products to then help light up these current gaps. And I'll talk about that as well later. And then the final piece is community, where of course being present at events like today, remaining engaged online through forums like the tech community page and through blog posts, and offering a number of resources and help content through our support and docs.microsoft.com pages are all important for us to help you successfully navigate through Access. So if any of you have questions or thoughts on our top priorities, I am happy to discuss at the end of the session, but for now, I will go into how these priorities translate into our actual work. Okay, so with that, I am happy to dive into what's new and in the pipeline for Access today. So this is something I talked about earlier this year, but I do want to just make sure we review it so everybody is aware. We understand the importance of a successful querying experience in Access. So to help drive your productivity level of query-based editing, we have made our first round of enhancements to the query experience at the beginning of this year in January. And if you are on Office 365, which is now known as Microsoft 365, and I'll explain that more in a bit, you should already see these improvements in your system today. And so just as quick examples, if I wanted to search for and replace SQL text, I can go to SQL View in Access and do that today through either clicking the Find icon or through hitting Control F on my keyboard. And I can also replace text at any point in the editor if I would like. I can also scroll with my mouse wheel, both vertically and horizontally while I'm in design view. And we also have new right-click options like auto-sizing through double-click and the ability for you to select multiple perform a number of actions at any point. So that's just a few quick examples of some of the querying work that I am excited to continue sharing. And I do hope that you have tried these already. However, this is certainly just a start, as we already have plans in our backlog for our next round of improvements with querying experience in the coming quarters, including zooming in and zooming out of a desktop window. We want to look into comment support in SQL. We are scoping a Monaco editor actually for the middle of next year, so you should see that by around the summertime, and so much more. So please stay tuned for that, and you can check out our blog posts on the Access Tech community page to learn more about query improvements. So as many of you might already know as well, we have recently begun rolling out a new and improved data type. There were some issues that we identified with the type, so we are working on resolving them now, and so that this will be enhanced in just a few weeks from today. But basically, this is known as the date and time extended data type. And with this new type, it improves your compatibility and integration with SQL, which is very important for us, while also increasing the accuracy of records that have dates as well as times. And this investment aligns quite nicely with our broader goal of building Access apps on top of data that can be stored in the cloud. The reason why I say it's compatible with SQL is because this feature is equivalent to SQL's date time to data type. If you have not used SQL, I would suggest playing around with it and understanding how that date time to type works as well. But this has a more user-friendly name in Access, date time extended. And with this type, we will support 3 parts, including remote table support, where you can link data with this type from remote SQL tables, local table support, where you can use the type in your Access databases, and our new and improved expression support, where you can perform different calculations on the type, though that comes with certain limits that I'll cover in the next slide. But all in all, this is actually huge for us as we continue to push on integration plans with SQL, and developing a new type that can be readily used from Access to and from that product will help drive this goal. Couple of things to note: that our current date time data type will continue to operate as is, and we will not be removing date time as an existing data type. So the choice between the 2 types. And the only other call out is that when you're linking to SQL, please keep in mind that this supports SQL version 2016 and later. And when you are using the ODBC driver to connect, just know that this requires the driver for SQL Server version 11 or after. So regarding expressions on this feature, you will successfully be able to use a strong number of expressions on the new type including expressions that work for our previous date and time data type. And for more advanced developers, you can even leverage SQL aggregate functions and expressions. However, as of today, for reasons that are currently outside of this current group's control, being able to perform specific calculations on the data type in VBA code itself will unfortunately be limited. You can absolutely still use a data type in VBA, but as of now, it will have to be called and casted as a string, meaning that calculations on the type specifically in VBA code will only not be supported for the first pass of this feature. And so we know that this is frustrating, and trust me, we are frustrated too. But this is unfortunately because of some limitations outside of the scope of my team regarding proper support. However, we are absolutely make calculations on the type within VBA code possible in the near future. So please stay tuned for that. But on behalf of the Access team, though, I do really hope that you enjoy this new type when it comes out in a few weeks. So this update is a little bit more for advanced users, so please bear with me as I kind of briefly walk through this here. As you know, you have needed to install the ACE redistributable engine to expose ACE outside of Office. But now with Microsoft 365 or ClickTrend versions of Access 2016 or 2019 Consumer installed, you will no longer need to install the Redis to use our OLEDB provider, our DAO interface, which stands for Data Access Object. And that basically means that you'll no longer need a complete MSI installer package to use the SQL Server Migration Assistant or SSMA. And then finally, this also applies to our ODBC interface, which means that you will no longer need to build data source names to retrieve ACE data within an Office app specifically. So this is important to call out, and we've had communications on this for a while now, but just to recap, this is important because 2016 will be the last version of the ACE Redis engine. And because of that, we want to lessen the requirement of needing the Redis as much as possible. So the three interfaces that I mentioned here is what we have started with on that transition. And this work that was specifically done by the Access team is also an Office-wide achievement. And so it's something that is also impacting how other Office applications work. So I'm happy to kind of share that broader goal today. So I know that's a lot of information. If you do have questions on this, please send an in-product help message or a user voice request, and we will be happy to assist from there. That's not all to call off from the past. While you may have already heard about some of these for a little bit, we have continued to make improvements to them and finalize this work earlier last year, including our modernized tabs, which is a nice visual and user-friendly enhancement, our Office-wide account manager update, which shows your M365 work and personal accounts in one place, and then lets you switch between them quite easily. And then finally, just to recap on zooming, you are still able to zoom for more room by typing Shift F2 within a record, where you can then adjust the font size, the font type, and the style in each individual cell. So this is some really exciting news that we want to ensure your awareness of for your own developments and your interactions with other customers as well. So there are a few additional things that are coming quite soon, actually, that I am excited to share with you all today. And the first is a new modern web browser control. After hearing all of your feedback and understanding the use case behind this feature, the team has decided to build a new web browser control. And where does this stem from besides your great insight? Well, our current web browser control only works for older web browsers, meaning the technology that our control hosts and defaults to is Internet Explorer version 7, so we knew that it was time for a change. Plus, Edge continues to be invested upon more and more heavily, and it has been made clear that Chromium Edge is currently Microsoft's key browser focus. So with all of that, we decided that developing this new control is an impactful strategy for us. So this control will appear as a new icon in the ribbon and will be called the Edge browser control. The browser version in the control will be set to Chromium Edge, which means you will need to have the right browser on your desktop in order to use the new control. But the good news is towards the end of this year, which is close to the time that we will roll out this feature, the new Chromium Edge browser on your computers will automatically install with your updated Office versions should you have it. So you should not need to do anything extra to be able to use this control if you are already on an updated version, which is important to be aware of. But to be clear, we are not doing anything to our existing control for Internet Explorer. This control will still be kept as is, and you will still be able to use it if you would like. And if you already have an existing control in your database, you can modernize your existing control through a right-click option, which is something we're establishing, and also through switching back to the older version if you would like to revert to an older version if you'd like to do so. So we are super excited to get this into your hands soon, and we are happy to also kind of hear thoughts and questions on this once we get to the end of the presentation. In a few months, we will also be enabling 32-bit access to address 4 gigs of memory in order to essentially make it what's known as large address aware. And this is especially useful when you have lots of data or you are performing several actions in a single application, like creating several complex forms, your batch exporting reports as PDF files, and so much more. So we're also excited to bring that to life in the coming months as well, so stay tuned. One thing that I do want to make very clear is that accessibility is still a huge deal for us at Microsoft and for Access, as you have seen in some of our improvements above, but we still have a ton of work to do. Our goal is far from being reached, and we are doing our best to meet the needs of our customers in all regions across the globe. Keep your feedback on this coming as well, as we want to make sure that the product is as accessible and as user-friendly as possible, especially if there's any sort of translation or localization issues. I want to hear that feedback and make sure that we improve that. And in addition to that, we will make sure to devote the appropriate time and efforts to help bridge any additional gaps for you. Okay, so I have talked a little bit about what's coming soon, but I'd also like to dive deeper into what's top of mind for us and what's in our feature backlog moving forward. So a huge part of our mission has been to successfully maintain the product as it stands today. We are fully aware of our bugs and our recent regressions, and we do understand the impact that they have placed on your businesses. So with that, we know that a successful user experience is our absolute top priority. And just for some clarity on this, there are times where large regressions may not have even been specifically caused by the Access team, but can be impacted by changes that have happened in the Office All-Up ecosystem or in Windows. But in any case, once we do receive notifications from any customers about product regressions, my team investigates those issues right away. And just for a little bit more insight without providing any too much internal information, when we make the appropriate security fixes in certain versions of Access, those changes can unfortunately result in additional regressions depending on the version that you are on, especially if you are on an older Office channel, like Access for Office 2000 or 2003. And so with that, there is a chance that our older tools, like the older versions of Access, that impact some older builds may not properly address and fix issues in those versions of Access, which is why we push so much to get you all onto more updated Access versions. And that said, while of course new features and more up-to-date changes could also come with new problems, we are able to use our most up-to-date tools to better anticipate and then resolve those problems from badly impacting your systems. So while I unfortunately cannot provide too specific context on the internal improvements to our systems that we are working on today, we are focusing a lot more as a team on anticipating and more efficiently tackling potential problems that may arise in the tool before it gets to your hands. And we also plan to do a better job to provide more clarity and updates into what we are fixing, especially to prevent you from feeling left out in the dark. But in any case, we really do get it. Because the last thing that we want is for you to not be able to accomplish the work that you are supposed to do throughout a day, throughout a week, or even months. We definitely understand how frustrating that may feel. And with the improved work that we have planned for the next few months, especially including new feature work, for example, with Daytime Extended, where there were some unanticipated issues that we want to better track and do a lot better job of making sure we drive and fix before it gets to your hands. we are confident that your apps will be better protected and you will encounter fewer problems moving forward. Okay, so back to feature work, I'm going to shift a little bit into talking about our upcoming integration strategy that will actually be quite a large team focus in the near future. So what is this integration? Why is this an investment for us? And why the Microsoft Power Platform? Great questions. I think we are all quite clear on the fact that Access has been Microsoft's original and key product to help our customers organize, track, and manage information while leveraging that data to then build mission-critical applications. However, among Access's success, the company has brainstormed more ways to help solve business needs that originally seemed a bit separate from the goals of Access itself. And tools in the Power Platform, like Power Apps and CDS, are examples of this. But now, as we as a company push more and more towards the One Microsoft strategy, which I have talked about a little bit earlier, we want to integrate some of those various business needs together and bridge existing gaps, instead of having to point you towards several different directions or different products each time you have a distinct strategy and end goal. Which then takes us onto the following objective on the slide that you see. We still understand that the ability to get your managed data and applications into a shareable format on the web and on devices is important. And as you know, Access Web Apps, as I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, did not perform as originally anticipated. So we decided that it is better to create a more integrated experience for the products that, although clearly do not have similar experiences as Access, can at least help bridge gaps that Access faces today. So we want to provide a platform for you to essentially continue doing what you are doing today, but when you would like to get your data and applications into a shareable platform and have that information shared across various devices like the computer, tablet, and mobile phone, we will have an avenue for you to do just that, which starts in the Access product. So how do we want to achieve this? We want to integrate Access with the Common Data Service, also known as CDS, and I would strongly recommend doing kind of a quick research and search on that after this chat. But we will be building what's known as a Common Data Service connector. This connector will be built within the Access application and will allow you to export your Access data to the service, but also immediately create link tables on the data that you have just moved, if you so choose. Meaning, once your data has been exported once you have chosen the tables that you would like to export to CDS, we will immediately ask you if you would like us as an Access team to create link tables for you. And if you say yes, we will do that immediately. And so because of that, you can continue working in Access the entire time, and any edits that you make to your link tables in Access will then appear in CDS. And then that way, there is no need to have to be an expert in CDS itself to make changes to your exported data. It's visible right in front of you in Access. And then from there, we will still have the opportunity for you to be able to build a Power App directly from your data, which has now been exported to the Common Data Service. So at this point, I would expect you to be like, Ebo, what are you talking about and what are these products, which is totally fair. I'll give a brief overview now. So Power Apps and the Common Data Service fall under the Power Platform division of Microsoft. Power Apps or Power Applications is basically a tool to build custom business applications without much knowledge of app development or coding. But the key thing here is that these kind of custom applications can be deployed and shared right over the cloud or even on your phone. And because of what this tool offers and what Access offers today, both the Access and Power Platform teams have agreed to work more closely together towards providing a more integrated One Microsoft experience. But to be clear, though, there are a significant number of capabilities that Access provides that Power Apps does not provide. And that is why Access is still successful as a separate product, and there is absolutely no planned replacement of any sort. Now, the Common Data Service is the Power Platform's underlying storage unit. It is hosted on the cloud, which opens many opportunities for us as Access users. And so with that, connecting to CDS is currently Access's key investment focus right now. given that data in CDS can then be consumed and shared across various devices and apps. And you can also use this data to create a Power application quite simply if you would like to do so. It is also a very rapidly evolving business, as CDS is much more young, I would say, and has a lot more investment on further development in terms of just novelty. So once we create this new integration process, you will also be able to see a wide range of new experiences that the platform provides. If you would like to get a head start on that now, I would advise you to go to the Power Apps website and look up their timeline, and you'll be able to see the Power Apps roadmap. So as briefly discussed a few slides ago, there are a number of requests we have received over the past years and even close to a decade on application storage and some data backend storage in the cloud, on cross-platform consumption, sharing and editing apps online, and more. And so this is a step on how we are meeting some of those requests, and we are confident that this product integration step will help fulfill them. We want you to continue having your applications consumed over the desktop with access as a standalone app today, but we want to also provide another avenue for you to get those apps and data online and shareable across a computer, a tablet, or mobile phone. But in addition to that, we want to make this simple by providing this opportunity through low to almost no code. The last thing that I, as a product lead, would want to do is release a new opportunity for you all and have that opportunity be complex. That's not my goal. That is why we are aiming to be very careful with this integration project and ensure that what you are asking for is properly met. And then finally, as a mobile application, Power Apps can run on various platforms such as the Android, on iOS, on Windows, and with almost any internet browser. So upon building the in-app experience for you to connect to CDS, you can then easily project your data from CDS into a Power App, which will provide all of those capabilities. And again, I just want to hone on this more. Are we trying to replace Access? Absolutely not. But when you would like to share your information with others over the web and or the phone, you can connect your Access records to CDS and subsequently build Power Apps, if you'd like to do so, to make that happen. This is an option, not a mandate. And we will also have you maintain your Access experience, meaning, as mentioned, after data is transferred to CDS, you can continue working on that same data and Access through link tables, as I've talked about. But just to be clear, this does not shy away from our SQL experience and our consistently high priority goal to enhance your experience with SQL as well. We know that there is work to do on that front, and SQL has and will continue to be very important to us. SQL is one platform that we want to grow on the Access collaboration experience with, and the Power Platform is another separate avenue. We want to provide multiple avenues instead of just one. And then finally, is the end goal limited to Power applications? No. Integrating data into CDS can provide several opportunities in the Power Platform beyond just Power Apps, such as creating applications in Power BI, automating processes, getting virtual agents, and so much more. But for now, we will scope things down in our first pass, and our current focus will be on a successful data integration with CDS, and then seamlessly enabling you to very nicely build a Power application from there. So as always, times are rapidly evolving and changing, so please stay tuned on updates to this work. This will require a large amount of time in order to be successful on our team. So I will make sure to follow up with you as we learn more about concrete timelines, but we are hoping for at least the release of the connector itself as a basic perspective around the summertime of 2021. Excuse me. That being said, if you have any additional thoughts and feedback of this, you are more than welcome to submit them to our user voice channel or to OCV. But in the interim, I would advise you to do some great research on CDS and its offerings, Power Apps, and more. And sorry, I didn't mean to use OCV. I meant submitting your feedback through the in-product help channel. And just to review this once more, I still see some questions and thoughts about not being able to see some of our most recent features. I think I got some feedback on that a couple of days ago. So I think it's best to quickly review how Office is delivered now and also discuss an important update to our ecosystem. So first, as of April, our official branding of Microsoft's productivity suite has changed from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, also known as M365. This strongly reflects our strategy of providing a single, complete productivity platform for its customers. And if you would like to learn more about this, I would advise you to visit the website I have here to learn more and hear a broader Microsoft strategy. That being said, everything that we ship for Microsoft 365, which is subscription-based, is updated more regularly, whether that is monthly or there are certain instances as an enterprise customer where you can choose for less frequent and or semi-annual updates as well. So in the subscription case on the left side, any recent investments and changes that we make within M365 will very quickly be visible in your systems, including the ones that I have talked about today. First, on the right, this kind of license is effective when time comes to ship a new perpetual version, like we have done for Access 2019, where we just bundle everything together, ship it, and sell that new version as a perpetual license. We are discussing on a new perpetual access version, Access 2022. That is a discussion that we are having right now, and I'll be happy to follow up more on that by next year. So some of you might say, well, I do not know kind of what version I have. How can I check? It is actually quite simple. Just check the splash screen, which will show you whether you have an M365 subscription or Office 365 on the screen, which again will be rebranded, or rather one of the perpetual versions, depending on your activated license year. Or you can just go to your product information, which will show you the license info, the update label and channel, the build number, as well as the deployment tech. But again, we are continuing to grow, and we have been in a more consistent process of improving upon your feedback. So you can have the opportunity to see these new developments much quicker on a subscription basis in Microsoft 365, instead of having to wait until the 2022 version of Access. And that is exactly what we would encourage for more updates, especially with the product integration work. So just to close, don't have too much more left. I want to leave some time for questions. One of the most important missions of Access and of me as the product manager is to ensure that the voices of our customers are being heard and that they are aware of the many developments and improvements that we are making in the product. This is through providing you all the opportunity to submit feedback into tools like User Voice for us to then respond to, publishing updates and new cool things into our Access blog, getting you involved in our support forum and tech community, and of course, developing stronger customer connections with you all through being involved in various visits, which unfortunately, again, we will have to see what 2021 looks like in terms of visits and more conversations, but interviews, user group sessions like today, and additional Access conferences. So the Access team and myself has had an awesome opportunity to participate and even occasionally help organize a variety of community-driven events, and we aim to continue to host more events in our platform moving forward. And as always, please continue to provide us with your feedback, given that, as you know, there are several ways to submit your feedback on the product, whether that's on User Voice at the top, which gives you the opportunity to express your thoughts and concerns for us to review and take action on, within the actual application on the left, where you can go into the help button, submit feedback and contact our support team, which I would strongly advise. It's the most helpful and most accessible. You can also see the nice little smiley at the top right too, which is another quick way for you to tell us what you like and do not like and give suggestions that way. Or you can go to our Access Tech community page, where we can have open dialogues about what is going on in our world, and for you all to submit questions that you have in mind. Our community leaders have done a really awesome job of keeping in touch with our community pages and helping those who have questions on different websites. And then finally, if you want to provide feedback on our help and support content, you can do that as well. So all in all, we do appreciate your feedback and we want to hear more. This is so important because we do really listen and we learn from you and we respond to your thoughts and suggestions. So please keep them coming. We want to hear from Access experts. And then again, stay in touch. There are different ways that you can learn more about new features. If you would like to be more connected with the community, I would encourage you to look into our Microsoft MVP program. There are several awesome MVPs, including Carl, who's organized a session that are really helpful on giving product feedback, on organizing these different user group sessions for myself and other folks on the team to present at, and to just grow our community and do better. So I would strongly encourage looking into that program. And in March 2021, we will have our updated 2021 MVP Summit. You can also send us feedback through becoming an Office Insider. Office Insider is a more niche, kind of close-knit program that allows you to give more up-to-date feedback, and you will also get a kind of closer scoop on things that are coming up rather than a general production customer, as well as user voice and the Access blog. And then again, this is just more information about receiving exclusive monthly upgrades and new features. And again, send us feedback as much as you can, and tell us how you think we can shape the future of Office and of Access. Tweet us in Office, join the Insider program, and I would strongly encourage you to be a part of our community. And that is it. I would love to hear thoughts and feedback of what people think. Thank you again, Carl, for having me here, but I would love to give some time for questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Ebo. There have been several questions, and we have an echo here.
Oh, do we?
Okay, I think it's better now. So there were several questions. The most important questions by Harald Deinhammer: any plans on discontinuing Access?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Any plans on discontinuing Access?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, there's that is not the plan at all.
You have to repeat it 1,000 times every day.
Yeah, that's true. But no, there are no absolute plans at all to discontinue Access. Yeah.
So about the web browser, there was a question by Martin. Will the new web browser be fixed to a certain browser, or is it more flexible, future-proof?
I think you cut off in the middle, but I think you're saying, would it be fixed with more?
With a certain browser version. Is it again bound to a certain browser version, or is it more flexible and future-proof?
Got it. It is bound to Chromium Edge, so that is the most updated version of Microsoft Edge today. We are having discussions about trying to kind of lessen or soothe those boundaries. However, our goal was to just set it to default to the most updated Edge version. That being said, you can still use our existing browser control if you would like to navigate through Internet Explorer instead. But outside of Internet Explorer in our current browser and Edge in our new browser, there aren't additional browsers that are currently supported with the browser control.
Okay, thanks. There were several questions about CDS and Power Apps.
Yep.
For example, is there a plan to also have a migration tool?
In general, like a migration?
Prompts, reports, logic, etc. Or is it just a data connection?
I see. So the short-term goal is data connection and data export. In terms of actually getting your full form and you would like to move your full database onto CDS, that is something that we are thinking about in the near-term future. But again, we are not trying to kind of push Access off of the Access platform and onto another. We're just trying to provide an additional opportunity for you to work with other groups. So longer term, there could be a discussion on migration of forms and reports to another system like Power Apps, which does support forms and reports. However, the short-term goal right now is focused on data migration, data export, as well as creating a Power application from the exported data of Access.
Okay, another one just added: access to Power Apps converter.
Access to Power Apps converter?
Yeah, that's what you will call it. Another question by Stefan Speth. Can Access connect to Project Oakdale?
Good question. That is an internal conversation that we are having right now. Unfortunately, I can't give too much clarity and insight into that, but that is something that we as a team are talking about.
Okay, we can't talk much about it. Another one is about the cost of Power Apps. Daniel Schunk asked, Power App future access versions, or do I have to buy a separate Power Apps plan?
Good question. So this will be something that I'll be publishing a post on in the near future. There are different versions of Power Apps from a licensing perspective. There is a Power Apps version for Microsoft 365, where if you have Microsoft 365, there is a limited version of Power Apps that you can use. But in general, Power Apps, because it falls under a different division, does require a Power Apps license. And so we are talking internally about what this would look like for Access customers with our CDS connector. But if you would like to connect to the full version of Power Apps and CDS, there will be a per user per minute price required. I believe it's $5 per user per minute. I will double check. I don't want to give the wrong number and have you think something else. But that information is online. The experts on that, on the Power Apps and CDS team, have produced that information, and I'd advise you to take a look at that.
I'll have it on my slides too, the cost for Power Apps, because it.
Carl, you just cut off. I can't hear you.
I'll have it on my slides too about the cost of Power Apps.
Okay.
So another question. Yep. Okay. Another question by Jürgen Briel. Will the CDS and Power Apps integrate more lasting than in earlier versions of Access? For example, web app. So there is some doubt, and it got a lot of likes to the question. Will it be more lasting?
Great question. I think the way that we are navigating and thinking really detailed about this integration will have us feel more comfortable about this being a lot longer lasting. I think with web apps, that was a little bit different because we were establishing our own version of Access web apps where we were looking at it a little bit differently. This was before my time, but from what I understand, we were looking at things a little bit differently in terms of how that would look in the markets, etc. But we do know that with Power Apps and CDS, it's a growing business. There's a lot of investment into that area of the business. And so there would I would almost be more than surprised if this wouldn't be longer lasting, because we know that Power Apps and CDS itself, as well as Access, are both long lasting tools. And so all we're doing is establishing a connection between the two, but as opposed to web apps where we were kind of developing something on our own. So because of a connection, I do think that this will definitely be much longer lasting. Both groups are growing. Power Apps has a lot of investments. We are putting a lot of investment into this integration work. So we have a stronger promise that you will be able to use this for a long time, as well as more.
Okay. That was about Power Apps. Another question came from Peter Rühm.
Oh, Carly cut off again. I can't hear you.
Plan to integrate Power Query?
Good question. We've gotten this question as well a couple times. Right now, there is not a specific plan to integrate Power Query. I know that this has been talked about by the team a few years back, and so there were some kind of technical errors on our side which prevented us from successfully integrating that experience. However, we are still thinking about Power Query, and thank you for giving that feedback, Peter. We will look into it more.
Another one, a question with several likes. Any updates, plans to VBA?
So unfortunately, VBA is not something that us as an Access team controls. There is a separate VBA team. In terms of updates, what I can share with you right now, that there are limited updates that are being made to VBA as a whole. It will still be maintained and you will still be able to use it well. But in terms of new features, new additions like we're doing in Access, VBA is a little bit limited. And that's also why with Datetime Extended, we had that blocker. But when they can and when we can work stronger with them, there will be some more updates. But I would just say as of now, don't expect too much.
Okay. Another question from Hubert Koppold. Is there any chance that we get a solution to the problem corrupt database in Windows 10? I think he means the inconsistent state.
Inconsistent. Yeah. We're working quite nicely on the inconsistent state. Our lead engineer has done a lot of really good work on that stuff. And so we are hoping that in the next several months, we will be able to get something more out to you, but just know that this has been a focus for us and we have been talking about it as a team. And we hope to definitely get that fixed out soon.
Another question, will there be an Office 2019 runtime?
I have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure in terms of what the entire ecosystem is thinking in terms of runtime and what the volume license agreements are looking like. But I'll take note of that, and then Carl, I can follow up with you on that. I
can say something to the question because I discussed it with the Access team, not with you, but with other parts.
Yeah.
The Office 365 runtime now supports Office 2019, so you can use the Office 365.
Oh, Carl, you cut off again.
There is no need anymore for a Office 2019 runtime because Office 365 runtime supports it now. There have been made some changes.
That's true.
So there will be no Office 2019 runtime. It's not necessary anymore. Another question, why is Access not part of the A1 school plan of Office 365 or Windows, Microsoft 365?
The A1 school plan?
Yes,
there's an educational plan where you have A1 and A3. Access is part of the A3 plan for education, but not the A1. The A1 is the which is free, and the A3 does cost.
Okay. I will double check on that. I'll have to sync up with our marketing and business planning partners to get more detail and clarity on that. So I'll follow up, but I don't see why that wouldn't be the case. However, I'll do some digging and investigation on that. Thank you for that feedback.
Another question again for VBA. Will there be any update on the VBE, on the Visual
Carl.
Basic Environment?
I'm not sure if I fully heard. I think you were saying updates in the Visual Basic environment?
Yes.
Question, I'm not, we've talked about it, and again, I think in terms of just VBA, VBE, and everything related, there hasn't been too much of a conversation in terms of strong updates, but that's something that I can sync with the team on and see what we're thinking in terms of that. But right now, there hasn't been too much investment devoted to those updates.
Philip, you had a question?
Ebo, you mentioned improved SQL Server integration.
Yes.
Does that include you will look at the ADO record set binding to forms, which is very powerful for SQL Server development, but it has a few bugs that prevent it to be used more frequently and more easily. Are you going to review that and go back and fix old bugs that have been there for many, many years?
Yeah, that's a bug that we have been talking about actually as a team. We're trying to see how we can properly scope that into our list of improvements. But yes, we definitely plan to fix that coming soon, hopefully. Yeah, it has been on my list and on our backlog for a while, and so we can hope to maybe move that up if we see a lot of use cases and customer reports on it too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question by Hans-Jürgen Haubner. Is there any chance to get pivot tables back in Access?
We can look into it. I know that there were some, before my time again, some feedback on that, which caused that to no longer be existing. But I think that's something that we can definitely look into as another feature request.
Okay. Jan Koindersma asks, what actions are you taking to get access to professional education? All students now just use Excel.
Yeah, that's been a big marketing conversation that I've been having with our business parts, especially when I heard about this A1 school plan as well. It is unfortunate, and I just to kind of digress a little bit, for me too, when I was in education and in university, we weren't using Access either. And I think that just comes from a stronger awareness of universities and speaking to those students and teachers as well about the power of Access and being more present at universities and high schools to present about what Access does. There is a lot of work on our business side that is looking into trying to raise awareness from an educational standpoint, because again, I do believe that Access is a strong educational tool. So we've been talking about that. We're hoping to get more live visits whenever that happens again. We are also just hoping to kind of scope out what the education segment looks like in terms of Access usage and see where there are opportunities for better awareness and for better improvement. But that's a great question. That's been something that I've been very passionate about, especially, and so I want to be able to drive that soon.
Okay, it's good that we have time for questions because they are popping in. Is there any plan for new controls like PDF view or Microsoft Office view or something? Controls.
We've talked about new controls that has been in the backlog. In terms of specific controls, we haven't dived deep into the specifics of it yet. So I would advise you to send feedback onto our user voice channel if you haven't done so already. And I would also advise folks to vote on those options if they think that there are certain controls that they would like to see more than others.
Okay. Next question. What about an integration into Git?
We haven't spoken about that as a team. That could be a pretty cool and interesting strategy, but we haven't talked about that yet. So I can keep that in my mind, though.
Another one. Are you planning to improve the image of Access, the image? Still, many professionals consider Access as a small database. Any image work?
Yeah, when we say image, do we just mean awareness, or do we mean the actual user interface and what the UI looks like in the product?
No, he thinks of PR, public relations, image work.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We know that just awareness in general has been a little bit concerning in terms of Access, and so that's why I like to do these sessions as well as talk to as many customers as I can, because as I've presented today, there are so many things that are still going on the team. And so I want to drive that awareness to people and let them know that Access is still alive and there's still a lot of work that we're doing to better it. So again, sessions like these, any sort of blog posts and awarenesses, blog posts and newsletters that raise awareness would help drive that. But yes, I would like to do that for sure.
Okay. Next one, people are very curious. How big is the Access team?
That's unfortunately confidential information. I cannot share that.
I'm getting asked this always, and I can't say it too. Can you say anything about the planned feature of resizing forms? It's a user voice, a suggestion about resizing forms.
Resizing forms is a great user voice suggestion, and I've seen a lot of votes. That is in our backlog, actually. We have talked about as a team scoping that into our work very soon. So thank you for bringing that up. I would say in terms of priorities, you should see that one land sooner than some of the others as well. So that's a big feature. We do want to do that, especially from an accessibility perspective. So we're looking into developing that quite soon. It's on the list.
Question, is it planned to make it possible to process more data? It's the 2 GB file limit.
Well, I mean, no. The short answer is no. It's kind of a limitation of the product itself and the engine that supports it. While we can, integrate with other tools that have that larger storage within the Access app itself, there is not a specific plan to enlarge that due to reasons that we unfortunately can't fully control.
Oh, I think we are running out of questions slowly. There is another one that I don't understand. Thomas Ziegler, can you rephrase your question? I don't understand it. What do you mean? If we don't get it more exact, I can't pose it. Okay, but I think it was a pretty nice question and answer session here. Last chance. No. Okay, what is about easy integration of drag and drop into access controls? And
what is about easy integration
of drag and drop functionality?
I think the question is what about integration of drag and drop?
Yes. Are there any plans?
Got it. Okay. Right now there isn't a specific plan for that. That is a good suggestion. Again, that is also something that I would like to see some votes on the website, similar to resizing forms, to see what that looks like from a customer perspective.
So the other question was about GDPR conformity. Will there be a version of Office or Access that doesn't need an internet connection?
For Office and Access, I'm not sure. That's not unfortunately something that I would be able to answer from an Office perspective. And so the way that Access works is, if that is what the case is from a GDPR perspective of Office, Access would follow that. That's unfortunately a question that I would say the Office and licensing, as well as security and privacy team, would have a better answer to.
Sure. Another interesting question is, what is the best way to report bugs, new bugs?
What is the best way to report new bugs? The best way that I would tell you is within the product itself. So once you say something in the product, especially with the smiley face or in the help tool, we get that in our own internal system, and I review that with the team every single week. And so we're looking at those responses, we're commenting on those responses. And what I would also advise is, when you're sending that feedback, if you can also send reproducible steps, as long as you're comfortable, we would also advise you to include your email. There is an option to list your email in the feedback tool. And so that if you do that, we can then respond to you directly with any more specific questions, as well as maybe for the database, so that we can reproduce the steps in your database as well. But I would say the in-product tool is best. However, please include detail on the feedback, and also include contact information so that we can follow up with you.
So the Access team or Office team really reads this in-product feedback, because there are many doubts about this.
And I understand that there is a lot of in-product feedback that we get, and so we try our best to go over as much as possible. The ones that we are able to really action on are the ones that have, the contact information, the product detail. But if it's kind of just very general, it's hard to know how to exactly go about and fix it. And so we would advise to at least include the detail. Do that, we will respond to you. We will take action on it. And so, but the short answer is yes, we are absolutely reviewing that, especially on a weekly basis. We spend an hour, if not more, as a team, and then I spend several hours on my own.
Apps, will a Microsoft 365 license be sufficient, or will we need more?
Sufficient for what? I would say Microsoft 365 is the license, the in capital letters there, because that is where you'll see the most updated features and everything that I've talked about right now. You'll get that if you're subscribed on the M365 version. In terms of needing more, from an access perspective, you shouldn't need more to be able to see things that are new and top of mind. You'll get that right away.
Another question is there any chance to use 4K or 8K screens and all its pictures?
That's a good feedback request. I think again that was
with
Sorry, Carl, I think you're breaking up.
I jump in for Carl. The question was, is there any chance to use 4K or 8K monitors in full width in Microsoft Access?
Good question. We would like to do that for sure. There definitely requires some DPI investigation that we need to do on the team. But if you submit the request and we can also understand kind of the customer need and ask on it, we can then decide as a team where that would fit into our priority list. Okay, I believe we're past the hour mark. Was there another presentation coming up?
We have some interruptions here. Another team session. Ebo, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's okay so far with the question.
Yeah, and
Do you? Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Carl. It's a bit tough to hear, but I would also just say again, as questions fall in, please use the in-product tools, the user voice feedback, and all the different methods that I suggested to ask a lot more of your questions if things also come up. But I think this was a super great Q&A session right now, and I'm happy that I was able to answer a lot of questions too. And I'm happy also that there's a lot of people who have joined us today. So thank you again for having me here. This has been really awesome.
Yeah, we were at 220 or so. I think it's a great session here, but with some technical problems, of course. So,
sorry, Carl, were you saying something?
Yeah, we just make a short break. We end the session with Ebo, and I will continue in 3 to 5 minutes with a German session, also about new features and ecosystem, etc. Thank you very much, Ebo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Ebo, for taking the time to being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.